Hi, my name is Sawyer Graves. I'm 20 years old. I was born in San Francisco but moved to Santa Cruz at a very young age. And I work at Shadowbrook Restaurant as a hostess and a receptionist. The family I live with now is my mom, my dad, and my brother. My dad and brother are not blood related to me, they're my step family. And when I was around 6 or 5 years old, my dad, my biological dad, took kind of a darker, not darker, but more sad turn in life with drugs and alcohol abuse. He wasn't fit to be a dad at the time, and I was also really young, so I didn't really understand that. So when my mom moved and, moved out from living with my dad, she moved into this weird, big, old 100-year-old hotel that was turned into rental apartments. And then that's how she met my dad now. His name's Eric. Also how I met my new family. So, and then the rest of my family on my biological dad's side, I don't have any contact in with. I prefer not to that way, just because of reasons. Well, in elementary school, I went to Brooknell. It was up in Scotts Valley. In middle school, I went to Scotts Valley Middle School, and then high school. First 3 years, I went to Scotts Valley High, and then my last year of senior year, I went to Harbor High School. I want to say during elementary school is when I started to notice a lot of things about my education and how I was really confused on why I was being treated as a minority, kind of. Was officially diagnosed with ADD in, I want to say, sixth grade. And I used to take these pills to, I think they were honestly meant to help me focus more, but I think they were meant for people with ADHD, which is, with the H is hyper. I didn't have hyper, so the pills would make me really sleepy and tired, so that didn't do anything for me. But in elementary school, I remember getting pulled out of classes a lot more for certain tests and stuff, and I didn't understand why because nobody told me why. I didn't understand, at that age, they might have thought I wouldn't understand that, which for someone like me at that age, I kind of already knew because of these classes that they put me in. I was with a bunch of other kids who clearly needed a lot more help than I did. All I needed was maybe just a couple more time, like a few more minutes on tests, and maybe like a quiet corner to go in. I didn't need to be brought into a whole separate classroom in front of everyone and then come back and they're asking, where did you go? What was all that about? It's embarrassing. So I felt like I was just a little confused that nobody told me why. Middle school was a lot different. I was put into special ed classes like history and math and science, which I still didn't really understand because half the kids in the classes needed a lot more attention and a lot more help than I did. I was doing just fine in those classes, but also I felt like I wasn't giving the education that I needed, and I wasn't learning the stuff that I needed to learn. I was learning at a very, very slow pace, and so that kind of affected into today of me not knowing, kind of real world stuff and adult stuff that I was never taught as a kid, especially in high school as well. I was never taught anything about life after school, and it's really frustrating to be a little behind than anyone. So in high school, I went to Scottsdale for 3 years. All 3 years I was in special ed, and the special ed program there wasn't great. It didn't have good teachers. I wasn't learning anything. All we would do is just sit there, watch a couple of movies, and then go on with our day. Like it wasn't anything like learning. I wasn't learning anything. And so I figured, well, maybe, I saw a lot of good things of Harbor High School's programs and schooling and stuff like that. And I was right, but I was also wrong. Moving to Harbor High School my senior year was a big transfer, but it was a little better with education, but only one of my special ed classes really taught me something. The other one didn't teach me anything. I was treated like I was a child. I was treated like I had no say in anything. I was basically shunned from, asking questions, asking legit questions of what I want to learn and what I need to learn. I didn't, you know, get taught a lot of things for after high school. I didn't get taught, well, I wasn't told actually that I was going to get a GED. I got told I wasn't going to get a GED or a diploma in high school until I left Scotts Valley. I was like, no, that can't be true. But it was. I don't have my GED. I don't have my diploma, and that is very frustrating. And so now I have to go back to either online school or adult school to get my GED, to go to a regular college like, Cabrillo or wherever. So high school was a lot better at Harbor. I made a lot more friends. I was treated a little more normally, but I would say this one class, this one teacher I did not agree with at all. Her teaching was, I mean, second grade level, I want to say, for kids who, needed her, but I didn't need her. I didn't need that kind of um, teaching. I didn't need that at all. I just did not agree with her. So, a certificate of completion was what I was handed after I graduated high school. It's basically saying, yay, you did it. You finished high school. Okay, bye. I have to, again, go back into online schooling or adult school to get my, diploma or my GED. A certificate of completion did nothing for me. I had to go through a separate program to get into cosmetology school. And luckily, I graduated from that. I'm still waiting to take my test, but it was a big struggle and it was a whole other process to get into just because I didn't have my diploma and just because I didn't have the things I needed to get into a school like that. But luckily I did because, a program helped me, wonderful people helped me out with that. But even then, all of the other people in my class are like, "Oh, I got in, because I graduated high school and I was the only kid in that class who, didn't graduate high school with a diploma, a GED, or nothing. So a certificate of completion is literally just saying, congrats, you did it. Okay, bye. That's literally it. So cosmetology school was like my favorite out of any school I've been to, I've attended. I had a great teacher. His name is Zach, and he did help me out a lot with, test taking and stuff like that because yes, I do need help with test taking, but I don't need the help that I was given in high school. So he was really awesome about that. The people at my school were really awesome too. They were understanding, and the whole class was very hands-on, and I'm a very hands-on person. I love to learn. I don't do great with just reading and just automatically knowing it. I need to be very hands-on with stuff, so that was really great. And I want to say the whole test taking thing or cosmetology school, I mean, it's not the easiest thing in the world. There's questions on those tests where it's like, you know, really confusing, but I felt like my teacher was really awesome at, explaining it to me and then also showing it to me. And so that way I understood. So now today, even without my license, I cut hair, I dye hair, I do whatever, and I don't need a textbook to tell me what to do because I already automatically know because I know what it looks like, what it feels like. So I want to say the education in cosmetology school with the teacher I had was like 10 out of 10. I loved it. I think the first actual job that I had I worked at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk at a separate company named Whiting's. I worked for the food industry and I would make people's food, serve it, whatever. You know, you know. I want to say that job wasn't really, I mean, there was a few nice people who, showed me how to do certain things, but then right off the bat, as soon as my training was done, I felt like I was expected to just know everything day one, to open up shop and to be just like automatically, locked into work. But I wasn't. I didn't know where anything was. I was still really new. So that was definitely not super ideal. And then I moved on from that to a summer camp that actually I did theater for a long time when I was a little kid. It's called All About Theater. And then, so I was at the age where I could be a camp counselor, and I had a lot of fun with that. I was with little kids who were like ages from like 5 to 8, or like 8 to 11, or 12. So I thought that was really fun. I got paid pretty good money for that, just hanging out with kids all day, dancing, singing. It was really nice. So that's something I would definitely want to go back to. I give that job probably a 10 out of 10. I loved it. There was great people, great community, no drama at all. I just loved it. And then after that, I started getting into more of retail business and then also restaurant business as well. I worked at O'Neill Surf Shop that was actually on the boardwalk. That job was lacking communication. I felt like I was also very treated differently there. I felt very much like an outsider. I wasn't, getting any help. I was just expected to know things that I didn't know, and the people there I didn't feel comfortable with in a way. They they kind of gave me a lot of crap about some things. So I just didn't really like that job and also tried to avoid it as much as I could. So I didn't really go to that job that much. And then I went more into retail. Recently, I worked at Gap downtown. That job was okay, and I had a lot of good people there. I mean, it was just a lot of the same folding clothes, talking on your walkie, helping, customer service, which I think I'm pretty good at. And I do still have a couple of friends from there, but eventually I did move on from Gap to the job I have now, which is at Shadowbrook Restaurant, which I do recommend people working there. It's really great community. It's a lot of great people. It's a big restaurant and there's just a lot really, really awesome workers. It's very much, I don't know the words to put it in, but it's just really great people, community. I don't know. It's just really awesome. I think working as a receptionist definitely helped, especially being on a computer, definitely helped me being also dyslexic. I have trouble spelling or with numbers. And since I started that job, I've gotten way better at, typing out people's phone numbers or names or spelling in general. So I thought that was really awesome. And then also moving on to a host and remembering table numbers because I want to say there's about 99 table numbers in 4 floors, and each room is different with different numbers. Still thought that was really awesome of just learning how to, navigate around, which table number is this, which is that, and then also, getting a little bit more learning in of numbers and how to memorize them and what I can do to help myself memorize them better and how I can, get, spell better, type better and all that stuff. So I want to say Shadowbrook is like the place I'm going to be staying at for a long time. Definitely kids made fun of me. I want to say a lot in middle school and elementary school. Less in high school, some, but not as much. Middle school was the big one because I would get pulled out of my just regular classes, my mainstream classes, to go take a test somewhere, and then I would come back and people would know and they would automatically point you out. And everyone is, whispering and like, you know, talking a whole bunch of crap about you and saying how you're special and that, you need to be treated differently. And I did get treated differently. I got treated very different. I got bullied in middle school a little bit for that. I would have people ask me questions, like really uncomfortable questions that I didn't even know the answers to. They would ask me, what's wrong with you? What disability do you have that I didn't even know at the time. I all I knew is I had ADD. I didn't know I had dyslexia or anything like that. And I also didn't understand why I was getting pulled out of classes. So I said, I don't know. People would laugh, be like, "Oh yeah, of course you don't know. Duh." I want to say it definitely gets a lot better. I want to say don't give up on yourself. Just literally be who you are. Don't It doesn't matter what other people say about you. If you know that, you're on a path to success, then that's really all that matters. You do what you got to do to, keep yourself, in a learning experience. Find different jobs that'll help you, and when people ask you, what's wrong with you? Why are you getting pulled out of classes? And you don't even know the answers to that, don't answer them. They don't need to know. It's none of their business. I wish I knew that now. I wish I cared less in middle school because I cared a lot. But in it just doesn't matter. Just you gotta be who you are. You are your own person, and just gotta strive for success. Be who you are.
What would you say to people who look down upon people with learning difficulties?
I would say that's messed up. I would say, you know, we are people too. You don't have to treat us differently from anybody else. People with autism, Down syndrome, whatever. We are all people just like you. So I would say just leave us alone. We're doing our thing.